Welcome to the Rockin Rich Lynch on the Radio Show. I'm your host, Rockin Rich Lynch, inviting you to join me as we discover great new music by bands and artists from around the world. With interviews, music news and reviews, great prizes, and a whole lot more. Visit us online today at soundpress.net for great music promotion and publicity. Hi, this is Rockin Rich Lynch, and you're listening to the very best of Rockin Rich Lynch on the radio. We recently moved our operations from the New York, New Jersey market to Nashville, Tennessee, and we are now looking for a production and broadcast partner in the region to take the radio show to new heights. If you're a band, musician, solo act, or represent a musical project in any genre, please visit soundpress.net and our new site, musiccitynashville.net, to learn how we can help get your message to the world. Now, please enjoy this great interview from our archives. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, today I am floored, honored, and privileged to bring you the legendary folk superstar and global pop phenomenon, a true musical icon, Donovan. Donovan, thanks for coming on the show.
Hi, Rich. Thank you. My pleasure.
Let me just tell everybody that they can follow along on your great website, donovan.ie. And I wanted to tell you, Donovan, I've been a fan for a long time. It's a dream come true to get to talk to you. And I've always wanted to greet you with, Hail Atlantis!
Hey!
You know, actually, I played your Atlantis at our wedding, and back in 1989, a group of friends of mine, we used to greet each other with Hail Atlantis, based on, the final thing you say in that great tale of the sunken lost continent.
Yeah, Hail Atlantis. It was a phrase that I put in there, basically saying hail to the new generation and also to the new age, which we now know is called Aquarius.
Aquarius, right? Were you aware of the work of Edgar Cayce back in the 60s and his prophecies for Atlantis? Is that what were you talking about, some of those things?
Oh, yeah, we were into lots of things, and we still are. And what it was the bohemian scene that I was in. We had so much material to work on from the previous bohemian generations of the 30s and the 40s and the 50s, and we just absorbed it all. And so, yeah, part of the books were Atlantis and also others.
Right. Well, Donovan, I wish I had much longer than I do tonight to talk to you, and I know we're not going to be able to get into half the stuff I'd like to, but we had checked out twice a great DVD, your biography and life story that came out a couple years ago called Sunshine Superman, The Journey of Donovan, a very comprehensive and packed with goodies DVD that tells everything you need to know about you. I would highly recommend our listeners to go over and check that out, and that comes fully authorized by yourself because you're all over that DVD, right?
Yeah, we began that with the great director in Vienna, Hannes Rossiker, in some years ago now. It took 6 years to put together. Linda and I worked very hard. We wanted to tell our story, but at the same time the story of the journey of the 60s, and I think we succeeded. Yeah,
lots of incredible, interesting things in there that I never knew, and just some great insight. Donovan is going to be coming to the El Rey Theater on March 19th, 2010. The Donovan and Friends, a very special benefit concert for the David Lynch Foundation, raising awareness for meditation and the study of TM. And that's still a big part of your life, the practice of transcendental meditation?
Yeah, sure. What it is Linda, me, and David Lynch, we're putting meditation into schools big time. This is the technique that the Beatles and I brought back from India when we went to study with Maharishi. David Lynch Foundation is doing incredible work. I'm the musical wing. I head it up. And this is one of the performances that we have dedicated to do around the world. We just did an amazing event, of course, in the Radio City in New York, where two other guys that were in India with me, Paul McCartney and Ringo, we were on stage and invited a host of others. And, of course, in the El Rey in March 19 here in Los Angeles, we'll be inviting a host of other artists, which you can all see on donovan.ie, the website, and also the David Lynch Foundation website, yeah.
Excellent, Donovan. Just as a side note, my mother will be 80 years old on March 19, 2010. So,
oh my.
Happy birthday, Mom.
Yeah, happy birthday, darling.
I'd like to just ask you a little bit. I guess we don't have a lot of time, so maybe I'd be able to get to know you a little bit through asking you some questions about some of your individual songs.
Sure, man. Go ahead.
I have a good friend whose name is Jennifer, and her mother was a huge Donovan fan, so we can make the connection there. Who was Jennifer Juniper?
Well, Jennifer Juniper is the sister of Patty Boyd. We were all in India together, and I celebrated that event by composing that song, which mentions in the song, is she sleeping? I don't think so. She was meditating, and Jenny and I were friends. We never were lovers, but we were friends. And all of us there in India, we learned this technique, and we brought it back to the world, which is doing amazing things for students worldwide. There's Jennifer Juniper.
And that's a great slice of psychedelic folk music right there for everybody, Jennifer Juniper. I was a fan and a collector, Donovan. One day I was out shopping and I found a copy of your Essence to Essence album. And the song on there, Operating Manual for Spaceship Earth, I mean, that song in itself is just such a handbook and great guidance and advice for operating responsibly and environmentally minded on the face of the earth. You succinctly put down what we should be doing and should have been doing all along in that song.
Well, yeah, what it was a phrase and the title of a book by Buckminster Fuller, who was definitely the original environmental scientist who we all understood in a catalog called the Whole Earth Catalog. I saw his book, and when I got it, there it was, the Operating Manual for Spaceship Earth. And so I had to write a song for it. That was back in 1972. So there's many songs that I'll be singing at the El Rey, and some of them are not Operating Manual, but some of them from the 70s were very environmental. Yeah, I'm glad you like that song.
Well, now, Buckminster Fuller was basically the inventor. He put into the consciousness of the human race the idea of living in geodesic domes. Did you ever take an interest in maybe living in one of those, or did you ever get to spend
Well, no, I lived next to a geodesic dome, and when I lived in Joshua Tree in California. But Bucky is who he was affectionately called. He was also into many other sustainable ideas, and we're just getting around to them now. Thank God the world is waking up to being green. Yeah,
Donovan, I want to live in a dome. That's one of my dreams, actually. So our website has a little alien mascot, UFO themed. Your song, Cosmic Wheels, basically UFOs over the course of flying saucers over the course of history. The Bible referred to them as cosmic wheels. Do you believe in UFOs and things like that nature?
Well, UFOs are also considered by Carl Jung to be psychic projections or wishes of mankind for some intelligent life to come down and help us. But just as Eric Idle in Monty Python wrote that song, I hope there's some intelligent life out there in the stars, because there's bugger all down here on Earth. UFOs have been seen all over the world, of course, in mass viewings. There has to be other life out there in the universe. It is an extraordinary large place. To think that we are the only ones is rather naive, I think.
We are talking to the legendary folk rocker, pop icon Donovan. Donovan.ie is the website. I can't believe it. I'm pinching myself here. This is unbelievable, Donovan. Thank you for spending some time with us today on the program.
Well, thank you for letting everybody know we're having a gathering. I don't have to tell whoever's listening to check out the website, Donovan.ie, and also to check out the El Rey website, but also the David Lynch website. You'll find some extraordinary things going on. And that evening, please come along. The ticket's cheap, $25, and you'll be supporting meditation for students worldwide. It's an amazing thing that's chilling out the new generations. Thanks, Rich, for calling.
Hey, Donovan, just a couple more. Your song, Ricky Tikki Tavi, talked about societal ills and almost being responsible for taking care of them and, eating the snakes yourself. Has Has that changed over the years? Do you think there's more things facing people that are daunting and more need for things like transcendental meditation, or has it been about the same since when you were coming up and doing your thing?
Well, when we all began in the early '60s, writing conscious songs, we were conscious, the Beatles and I, wishing to bring meaningful lyrics and poetry back to popular culture. That's been done. Doors have been opened. Communications have been created. From a very early day of 1963 and 4, the radio DJs like yourself started playing our music to the world. So much has been opened up in the world through communications, and especially poetry and meaningful lyrics coming back. As one looks back over the 40 years, one had hoped, each generation, each decade in the last 40 years, one had hoped the world would come around sooner, but at least it's happening now. People are becoming aware, and now the social web, it's in the new 60s.
I had seen you on the DVD reference Alan Klein as that pirate, and we spoke to Joey Molland of Badfinger a while back. Alan Klein recently passed, but he almost sidetracked you, but you didn't let him get in your way too much. He was a snake that you had to take care of, huh?
Say that again?
Alan Klein was like one of the snakes, like the Ricky Tikki Tavi song. He almost tried to sidetrack you early on.
Oh, you mean Alan Klein? Alan Klein was the super manager who set his sights on managing the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, Donovan, and Marianne Faithfull. And he knew that with the Beatles and Donovan and the Stones, he would be able to capture, if he could, like a great pirate, some of the most important singer-songwriters out of Britain. And we were managed by Klein at the time. And, sympathy for the devil, as the Stones say. You've got to give Alan Klein his due. He did push, and he did shove, and he did present enormous amounts of music out in the world there. So I look at it philosophically. It didn't change me.
Donovan, I know that the Beat Generation writers and poets were very important to you. Has there been any literature and writers in recent years or decades that have been just as important to you?
Oh, yeah. The Beat poets were our inspiration. John Lennon would agree, and so would Dylan, and so would Joni Mitchell and Leonard Cohen. We're talking about Allen Ginsberg and Ferlinghetti and William Burroughs and Jack Kerouac. These pioneers were very clear when they said poetry has to be returned to the people, because with poetry and with poets comes meaningful lyrics. It is no mistake by governments that they try to control poetry and keep the poet away from the people. But that was too late by 1964.
Any influential writers and books since that time?
Say that again?
Has there any been other influential authors and writings and books for you, other than the Beat Generation?
Well, the Beat Generation was so set on changing the view of the world by bringing poetry back to pop culture. By the time we were influenced by it, but like Lennon and Dylan and I, by the time we made that breakthrough, brought back poetry to popular culture through pop song and successful rock songs, the doors had already been opened. But Seamus Heaney, the great Irish poet, is very influential. But by the time the 60s came around, poetry would now be returned to the people through popular culture. So, yeah, every singer-songwriter that followed us after 65 and after 75 are important, very much so. Any singer-songwriter that followed, yeah.
Speaking of awareness and consciousness of Donovan, I do believe, Donovan, if my ears have told me correctly, that we've heard you used in some commercials over time, and that's got to be a good way to get your music infused back into the life of people who may never even have heard of you in the first place. How much control do you have over that in getting your songs in commercials and things like that?
Yeah, well, I embrace commercials and television and film use of my music. What they're called is music supervisors that work for television shows and film companies, and the ad agencies of the world took on quite an important role, and that was to produce very short sometimes only 3 or 4 or 5 seconds long, commercials that were beaming out to zillions of people around the world in every culture. And these became, for me, like like a radio. And so commercials are very important. So I met with the ad agencies and I encouraged the use of my songs in commercials, and especially the latest one that became my most green commercial, and that was for GE, for the wind energy. And so commercials are the new radio.
I hear you, Donovan, and everything I've ever heard that your music has been associated with as far as commercials has been very tastefully done.
Yeah, the commercial has to come up to the quality of the song, but it is amazing how things work. The Rolling Stone magazine featured every artist they could find and songwriter that was encouraging commercials, and they missed me out, and that was crazy because I've got more commercials than anybody. The Wall Street Journal asked me if I was selling out. I said, no, I'm selling in. And I spoke to Saatchi & Saatchi, and they said they're encouraging the corporations to go green, and the corporation that's last going green will be the one that misses out.
Yeah.
So here we are in this modern world of the Internet and the social web. And so it's a completely different new way of doing things. But we dreamed the Internet in the 60s.
Very cool. Thank you. We thank you for that. Donovan.
It's cool. Go ahead. Go on, Rich.
Donovan, coming up at the El Rey Theater on March 19th, 2010, Los Angeles, California. Donovan and Friends, the benefit concert for David Lynch Foundation. Let's see. Donovan.ie is the website. Last question, Donovan. It's been a while since your Beat Cafe studio album. Anything else in the works as far as new music from Donovan?
Yeah, I can give you a bit of news. David Lynch, or the David Lynch, my dear new friend, and I've always valued his work, and he's valued mine. We decided to go into his studio in Hollywood and record. And so David Lynch and Donovan have recorded 2 tracks, which you'll be seeing a presentation on my website and other sites pretty soon. I have new work. It's called Ritual Groove, and the new recordings from David Lynch and Donovan would join this new project of mine. Ritual Groove will become a tour. I'm headed back to perform soon. Some festivals this summer in Europe will kick me off, but I'll be headed over here pretty soon. Look out for my website, Donovan.ie, for work, new work, and of course all the re-releases of my classic work.
Thank you, Donovan, for talking to us today. Thank you so much for your music and your great spirit and work in the world.
Thank you, Rich, for calling and letting everybody know it's going to be some kind of show. There'll be a couple of Guns N' Roses there, Sublime, a couple of the band will be coming from Jerry Vivino and the Conan O'Brien band. It's going to be quite a hot evening, and I hope to see you there too. Thanks for promoting the concert.
You got it. Don't miss out, everybody. Donovan and Friends. Thanks, Donovan.
Thanks, you, Rich. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Rockin' Rich Lynch on the Radio Show, part of the SoundPress.net radio network. Remember, if you're a band or artist looking for promotion, or if you'd like to sponsor this show or add this program to your station, please get in touch with us today at SoundPress.net.